Hello, Facebook Live. Hello, people. This is Jen here, doing a life situation update. I haven't done one of these in a very long time, and don't mind my cat, because she's like over here all the time, and she's going to make a debut. She does in all my videos lately, because I'm out in the back here. So things have kind of changed around in my house. So yeah, we're in the back room, where the table used to be when I was like 6, 7, 8, when we first came to this house back in 1990, which is kind of cool. So that's a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about a little bit. I'm not going to take too long, but at the same time, I'm going to definitely hint on things that are changing and, updates. I haven't been able to be on here very much the last couple years, only because I was taking care of my grandparents, and they took a lot of my time, as well as working my part-time job. And in between all that, trying to figure out what I'm doing, my life, don't touch. This is Cleo, if you haven't seen her before. She's like, hello. Oh, she's a fat kitty. She's a fat kitty, but show them your pretty face. Show them your pretty face. I'm a fat kitty, and I eat too much because I'm stressed. Because you're stressed, right? We're trying to rehome her. So she definitely does need to lose her weight. But she's 7, and she loves snuggles, and she purrs. You can hear her purring. She loves to be up in, don't hit the phone. She loves to be up in your business and all attached. You can actually rub her stomach, rub her belly. I don't know, I adopted her from PetSmart, so I don't know if she lived with dogs or not, but I think she was part of a kitty mill. Same thing with Shadow upstairs, because both of them ended up having kittens when they were not even a year old. Or just about a year old. So, and when they came to me, their paw pads were really, really, like, right now her paw pads are very, you can touch her back feet and she's fine. She actually rolls over for you. Oh, you actually did that for the first time, wow. The paw pads were worn, and now they're all soft, because she's like, we have carpet here and everything, and just don't have to worry about that. So I don't know what happened to her. I know that on the documentation she had 5 healthy kittens, but when we got her, even I thought she was underweight. She was very thin, about a quarter the size she is now. I wouldn't say that, actually. It would be like about 1/3 maybe. So she definitely, my grandparents used to leave the food out for her and stuff like that and stuff, so she definitely needs to eat less. She does shed some, so if you are having a person that's allergic, it would not be an idea, like, cause see, she sheds all over my shirt. So she definitely needs somebody that would take attention and pet her and brush her constantly. She's definitely a lover, so that's kind of a sad thing that, unfortunately, she's a little bit, but if you don't have any issues with pet dander and allergies or anything, she's great. She basically, the ideal place and home for her would be basically say a middle-aged person or somebody who just is alone and needs a companion animal that they can take care of, and that, like, say, the reason why I got her was because Mom needed a companion animal. So when the one cat of ours, Mommy Kitty, died, I got her because there were no other cats and we just had the dog. So Mom wanted something to sit on her lap while she was reading a book or something, and she enjoyed the companionship, because when you're dealing with a spouse that's got autism, or not autism, my bad. Oh my gosh, I just went brain dead. This happens to me a lot, guys. Alzheimer's. And he's in his own head, or whatever, or they're in their own head and they kind of do stuff and they're not really engaging with you anymore. You kind of get a little bit depressed, and so you kind of want that engagement. And especially when the kids are out of the house, there's nobody else there. You do get the lady that comes in and cleans. We had Pearl. She was a blessing, and then Kathy. But Mom just kind of needed that. Mom was always had pets and stuff, so she was just very weird. So when Mom passed, Orangey was a little bit upset, and then unfortunately I had to bring my cat Shadow back here, because of where I was living I couldn't have any pets, so Shadow stayed upstairs and Orangey stayed downstairs, so it was kind of like funny. And then she would always be on the bed with Mom at night. She would curl up with her and all this stuff, and so when Mom passed, and it was just Gramp and me and the dog in the house. She was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing or where it's going. And then Gramp was always the one to just not really care for cats on tables or, on his behind him on the chair or on his lap or anything. He never really cared for any of that. Granted, towards the end when he was kind of going in to himself, he just kind of like tolerated it a little bit. If she was on the table, the coffee table in front of him, she would try to jump up onto his lap and sleep on his lap, but he would always push her down. Then whenever he got up, she would steal his chair, and then he'd push her off. It was kind of funny. But now that he's gone and now that we don't have the dog, because she'd always partner up with dogs. So if you have other dogs and stuff, that's okay too. She doesn't mind that. So that's really good. Other cats, I think she's pretty good with. I think it's more of a when she's there, other cats coming into her territory versus the other. Because she never really. Shadow was always upstairs. Shadow would come down to say hi or something, and she's like, "Nope, my territory," type of a thing, which is fine. But now she's just kind of like, she'll be curious, and she'll come upstairs, and then she'll come and she'll like ask me, "Hey, can you feed me?" I'm like, "You already got a ton of food. I don't want no." And she's curious because she like with the dog, she'd go and lean on him, and the dog was a really old dog. Cody is now rehomed. He's 14. Ooh, cracked my neck. Oh, wow, that popped real bad. This weather is messing with my bones and all my other stuff. So she ended up, she was always calling up to him and trying to get him, like you can see her right now actually. She's on the table. She's being like, "Oh, rub a belly, rub a belly, rub a belly, rub a belly." She's so cute. She's so cute. Cutie kitty. She does definitely the, okay, you gotta let go. She does the, that thing where you, thing. I know, it's okay. She's always, like, curious about what you're doing or, anything like that. Sorry, I have a thing on the back of my phone, so we just kind of have to adjust. But yeah, she definitely, like, 2 weeks ago I brushed her real good. Got, like, a ton of hair out of her other coat, so she's definitely one that you'd have to maintain the coat with. So, that would be ideal. Definitely needs to lose some weight, like I said. Beyond that, she's fine. She's very curious. She's very, if you leave her alone and you have, like, a string that came off of a package, like one of those stretch strings, she's fine. She'll start playing with it by herself. It's really kind of funny, because then she'll walk around and be like, ugh. But, yeah, she'll, like, play fetch, too. So I think she was, sorry, her hair is all over my nose now. She, would play fetch and all that stuff, so she's a great cat. I just want her to go to a good home, and not, like, somebody that's not really gonna take care of her, or something that's gonna, like, she's like, okay, whatever, what's going on? I don't know, Mom. She's such a weird cat. Sometimes I don't even think she's a cat. Sometimes I think she's, like, something else. So anyway, on to my actual updates of what's going on. So, update 1, we have to rehome her. So I'm trying to find a place for her that's going to be good surrounding the South Towns here. Or, because I can't go anywhere else to drop her off or anything. I don't have a carrying case for her. I don't have anything because she's, like, kind of big. So, just trying to find somebody that I know that's a friend that would like a cat that's, possibly, like I said, in a, like, situation that's, like, an older woman or a man that just needs a companion animal, that's good, that doesn't have any other, like, craziness. So, like I said, she's probably fine with, other cats that are already in the house or domestic, because she's going into somebody else's territory, so that's a territory thing. But if, like, here, when I brought the other cat into this house after the fact, she wasn't bad, but she just kind of stayed away. And she's like, yeah, no, not going to put up with that. Whenever Shadow would come down the stairs, she'd kind of be like, mm-mm. So, that was after Mommy died, though. Before Mommy died, Mommy Kitty, and Mom, she was fine. So I don't know if it's just after the patriarch passed of the cat family that she just was like, I'm the patriarch now. Because our other cat, Mommy Kitty, who I got from my brother and sister-in-law, she would put up with no shit. She would come down here and she'd be like, because she had her own litter cats from them. Sorry, there's like a lot of floating cat hair right here right now. Because she's getting stressed because she's shedding, because she sees everything moved around. So she's shedding more than she normally does. And it's also winter again, apparently. So apparently her body thinks she needs to shed because the heat's on again. Plus it's spring. So they'll shed their coats, undercoats in spring and stuff. So anyways, she wasn't nasty necessarily to the cat upstairs when I first got her. But she definitely was like, this is my territory. So if you watch that guy that's a cat whisperer, I've been doing a couple of the things like that for the last 3 years maybe, with her, and she's kind of tolerated Shadow. She's actually gone into Shadow's territory and been fine, and then Shadow's gone and sniffed her butt and tried to figure out, and then she's like, okay, I'm retreating. And then once she get down the stairs and Shadow gets down the stairs, and she turns around and she's like, nope, you don't get to go past the stairs. So it was kind of funny. Nothing like nasty. There's no like, craziness. But yeah, like I said, I think it's once she's out of this house, I don't think that behavior will display anymore. Because she's not in her own territory anymore. She's, like, oh, crap, I gotta behave. So that's interesting, too. But definitely she needs a new home. She needs somebody that, basically, the optimal one would be somebody, hey, Haley, who, doesn't have, like, a lot of other animals, or if they do, they have, like, smaller animals, nothing, like, hardcore. For, like, one person, or an, older family, like a retirement family that's retired and they want a companion animal that just wants to like sit on their lap and they can just like pretend it's their kid and that kind of stuff. But beyond that, anyways, I'm digressing and I took too long talking about that, and that wasn't really what I was going to talk about, but she decided to come up, so she definitely wants to find a home, and so I will do the little please help me find my cat home thing. So anyways, point is that I'm on here is because right now I have time, and I want to explain what's going on. So, what has been going on is, if you all know, the last 2 years have been crap. And it's just been like, one day after another, just put one in front of the other, and just keep going. Put your blinders on and just kind of survive. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Kind of, but a little bit more. And so, basically, what's been going on is after Mom passed in January, or February of 2020, that kind of was like, okay, I had a little bit more free time here, but then Gramps' health and his deterioration started even more. So with his Alzheimer's and his being incontinent, starting to get incontinent stuff, and his catheter, that was a little bit rough on me. So my full-time job was here, taking care of them and doing all the things, running errands, getting them to their doctors, paying the bills as much as I could, beyond, whatever, and then beyond that, just doing the housework and things like that. And then after that, then my younger brother Eric died in 2021 of COVID. So that was a little bit hard, and I'm still dealing with that, and that is the most heartbreaking and effective I've ever had. His death has affected me to like no end, but I understand that when I last saw him, he wasn't really who he was. So it's just kind of like in my head trying to go back and forth between who I remember Eric to be and who he ended up becoming. And I know, he's in a better place, but it doesn't stop the memories of like when I'm doing stuff here and I'm packing stuff up and I'm remembering all the things that we did here. And he was really close. Eric and I were really close. So that is something I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm struggling with every single day. And it's sometimes hard for me to get up in the morning because I'll see stuff, and like even right now talking about it, I get that shit in my throat, And I'm like, no. So anyway, I'm like, I have to put that aside and I have to survive. So basically I'm like, okay. And I kept going, hey, Sean. And so basically after that, then I was like, okay, let's get a job and do something. And my health was deteriorating slowly as this was going on. Because I had to start eating wheat again. And so my body does not like wheat, but, I had to, because I'm like, I have to do something if I'm working, and I have to stay awake, because I've had this chronic fatigue for like 20 years, and nobody understands why. All my tests are like, they don't come back with anything, my thyroid's this, or my thyroid's that, and nothing, whatever. So after a while of having breath tests and saying there's just too much bad bacteria in my stomach, I ended up just being like, no, because I was put on Spectrum, yeah. I was put on Bactrim, which has got sulfa in it, and it almost killed me. And that was a couple years ago. And so after that, I never really went back to the doctors to figure out what was up, and I did my thing. Stress also was a big factor in my health, because I'm an empath, and I feel other people's energy and energy around the space, and I have real issues with people not respecting stuff. So in these retail jobs, when you have to put your blinders on, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it, whatever, and people start stealing stuff, like the one guy at CVS a couple weeks ago just freaking lifted a beer. You're like, what? And I couldn't do anything about it, because if I accuse somebody, I get fired. So you're like, and then some kids were having, relations, if you know what I mean, in the bathroom, and we're like, seriously? And then now we have changing, management, so it's a little bit interesting. And now they're screwing with my hours, because now they're saying the management doesn't want hours and all this crap, so I'm not on the schedule for the next 2 weeks. And the last 2 weeks I was only scheduled for 6 hours. Yeah, you can't live on that, especially when I just got my apartment. And this is all really ironic that this is all starting now and starting this. So I put in an application for ACE, and the lady loves me. She gave me her personal cell phone number and stuff. So hopefully she'll call me back on Tuesday, because she said she had other interviews to talk about. But I already knew Glenn, and I already went in there, and I should have listened to the God wink that I had 4 weeks ago, where I went in there looking for actual Halloween lights to hang behind me when I do videos, because I'm going to start trying to do holistic videos on here and on YouTube to try to send energy and Reiki healing, because I got to start training myself, and I'm also in a crystal healing group, so I got to start doing more public things like that for my course, and I'm actually going to need 3 volunteers to do crystal healing techniques on, which is cool. It's through Hibiscus Moon, so I'm excited about that. But anyways, I went in there to look for that, and I started talking to Glenn, the one guy there, and he said, yeah, it's good, and, don't worry about it, because at that time, I was at 25 hours a week, and they were like, oh, because I had gone down from 32, I was 1 day shy of full-time over there, because of the holiday stuff, and then they started lowering the hours, and I was like, okay, 25 hours, I'm back down to what I was originally when I first signed up, and I'm like, that's okay, whatever, I'll do with it. So I went from a $600 bi-weekly paycheck to a $300 bi-weekly paycheck. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of a big difference, but hey, whatever. And so now I'm down to a $0 paycheck, which sucks ass, I'm not gonna lie. So hopefully she'll sign me up soon. And it's very frustrating, because they said in the end of February, in the beginning of March, that we'll get more hours, and then nothing happened, and I started to see some weird things going on, that I wasn't really happy with, and I wasn't aligned with, and when I went to this thing, I should have just put the application in then, but I'm like, no, CVS is good, it's got $14 an hour, I'm fine, I'm cashing, I know my people, blah, blah, blah. I'm okay, I don't need to change right now. I'm just going to stay steady. I have this job, I don't want to, mess it up. And then they do this. And I'm like, so I should have been in there already. Maybe not, I don't know. So anyways, that's that going on. So definitely a change in the job market right there, which equals this time when I'm actually going to be pivoting and working more on my side business. So before, when I was working with my grandparents and stuff, I couldn't do my side business. And before that, I was on my own in an apartment, but I was kind of being tethered back here to do things here that the one girl that was living here wasn't doing. So I still needed to do stuff here. So it wasn't really a full cutoff. Now it's going to be a full cutoff, because we're going to have to settle the estate, Gramps no longer here. He passed in November, if anybody knows or whatever. And that also was another trigger for me. Not as much as Eric. I think my Uncle Brian's death was pretty hardcore for me, which is weird because I didn't really know much. I wasn't really attached to him that much. I knew him coming here and stealing cookies when I was at college, but I didn't hang out with him or whatever like I do Eric. Eric's hardcore. That's that connection that I had. That, you know, when I sit here and I'm thinking, like, now, I'll be like, oh, well, he's over in West Seneca. I can just, you know, when he has an issue, I can just ask him something or whatever. And he'll be like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, dang it, I can't. And in my head, I keep thinking of how he was before he got weird. I think really towards the end when he was getting very hostile and combative and confrontive, I think that has to do with whatever medication he was on. Almost 100%. And the brainwashing the girl did to him. But that's neither here nor there. There's some other stuff that I will divulge later on, which I'm not going to divulge now, that we found out that was pretty sketchy. I have to gather more information before I can make a confirm or deny opinion on that. So I'm going to ask some more questions. But for right now, I have to focus on this and the move, because I have to move, and the cat's back again. Hello! And that's really hard, because I can't fully grieve and be at peace with his death until I'm settled myself. And then this all uprooting and all these things and this... Again, uses Cleo. Again. It's just very... I'm on autopilot, and so when you're on autopilot, you can't really integrate the emotions and feel them and process them and heal them. Because when you do this and you just like, okay, that's fine, I gotta keep going, and you're in survival mode, you're in your primal brain, not your emotional, spiritual brain. So when you're in your primal brain, there are no emotions, and you're just going on autopilot to survive. You're like, hey, I need to go to work, I need to make money, I need to put stuff on the table, I need to do this, I need to do that, find this place so I have a roof over my head, make sure all my 5 survival needs are met. Your water, food, housing, roof over your head, heat, and possibly tribe. So tribe's like last. It's kind of like the in-between one. Make sure that all those are met so that you're in autopilot. And those have been fluctuating hardcore for me all the time. And by the way, if you end up adopting her, she does this. She loves licking you, and she's like, oh, I love you. I love you. I want to lick you. She's funny. She's so cute. So anyways, that's really stressful. I've been basically, after Grant passed, I ended up jumping right into my job. It was November, it was going right into the holiday season. So I was like, okay, I'll be able to get more hours and it'll be good. So that's why I went from like a 25-hour job to a 32, almost a 40-hour job. And that was really, really good. I'm surprised I actually ended up doing so much and having retained all the photo stuff that I needed to learn and do that stuff. But it's also because, one, I was on a medication for anxiety and depression called gabapentin. It's really cool. Look it up. Ask your doctor. Maybe that will help you too if you have all these challenges, because I'm all for helping and doing medical stuff as well as holistic, because sometimes the holistic stuff doesn't cut it. Sometimes you need both. And really, when shit hits the fan and you are dealing with some other stuff, it's okay. Don't be ashamed of it. I'm not gonna lie. As an empath, you're more susceptible to other people's emotions and things being targeted at you. And if you're not as equipped in being able to shield yourself from that, like I am, I'm not. You end up retaining more of that stuff. But like, so you need help. You need more help until you're able to be in a situation and environment where you're stable. So then you can possibly, start to wean yourself off of them if you need to, or depending on what other stuff you're on. I'm super, super sensitive on all accounts of all of this medication, so I can't take a lot of stuff, and so I have to basically rely on a lot of holistic beyond this. So this is the first medication that I can actually have without having other complications. So anyways, that's that. Beyond that now, with all this stress on, that I've dealt with, not on me, but I've dealt with in my environment, and stuff I've experienced, my health has gone down. So, like, when I was working the 32 hours a week, basically I had to keep eating something for an 8-hour shift, and I didn't have the energy to be able to make something, so I ended up drinking my energy drinks. Or my pop, and my pop caused more acne and things like that. And then after that, I was just like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous, but I have to have enough energy to service people and do the job that I need to do. It's because I don't know why I'm lethargic all the time, so I have to get caffeine somehow. And I don't drink coffee, so that's nothing. And I can't do a lot of dairy because dairy issues. So all my issues, I'm like, I have to like try to figure out something. So we figured out I had anemia. We figured out, we don't know why, still don't know why. I still have to have blood tests done this month, but I'm waiting on getting it done right now because of the other 2 doctors I've gone to. My primary wanted me to go to a GI doctor because apparently I started having Raynaud's syndrome, which is when your fingers turn colors and you can't feel them, which really sucks when you're trying to cash somebody out and you can't feel change that you're trying to give them back. Or that you get dizzy and lightheaded when you're walking around because you're anemic and you don't have the iron content in your blood, and your hair starts falling out, and it's not cool. And then after that, you're like, okay, well, there's nothing here to eat. I need to eat something or else I'm going to faint because I didn't bring anything with me, and so I need to get whatever TV dinner's in the freezer and make that in the little break room, which has got wheat in it. So the other thing, too, is I took blood tests, and they're like, okay, well, you're borderline celiac. You're borderline whatever, Crohn's or whatever. So now they have to do more genetic testing to see if I actually have, because I went to the GI doctor. I finally got an appointment for the GI doctor. Saw the other doctor that I had made a new practice. There's a sub doctor that she works, there's 2 of them, that she works with, and her name's Janelle. So I went to Janelle, and Janelle's cool, love her. I can relate to her more than Trubish, my GI doctor. And she said, okay, I'm going to run some panels, and I'm going to actually run a genetic panel now that we can, years later. They couldn't when I first had it, to see whether or not you actually fully have celiac disease or Crohn's. And if not, you might just, like you said, have IBS or, just sensitivities. So here's the thing. If you have Crohn's disease or celiac disease, if you eat wheat, it kills your intestinal tract and all that, and you can't get it back. So that's why people are like, no, I can't. If you don't and you just have an intolerance for it, it doesn't affect necessarily your gut tract and your lining. It just means it inflames your body to the point where you have other issues, which is more or less what they're thinking is going on with me. Because if not, I'd be like in way more damage. Oh, so cutesy. Kitty lickies. Oh, kitty lickies. Funny. She doesn't usually do the face. Oh, she'll lick my hair too. She'll just start licking my hair. It's funny. Okay, okay. Anyway, so now they're like, okay, what we also want you to do is we want you to have you had a colonoscopy. Your colonoscopy looked awesome 10 whatever years ago, and there didn't seem to be any issues. So we're gonna have you do an endoscopy this time. So I'm like, I knew that they kind of wanted an endoscopy because of all my issues, because more of my issues are gas, like, and stomach. She's like, and the sun went under and now it's all cloudy. Dang it. So anyways, I'm going to have that done. I'm going to have somebody take me because they're going to put me under and I can't drive, so I'm going to have to ask my father about that. It's supposed to be it's scheduled for the end of April. But the week before, they got to test me for COVID to see if I have COVID, which I don't, and I've already had it, so whatever. So just for precautionary stuff. And then after that, we'll see what else is going on. I don't really want to have the test, to be honest, because I got all this other shit going on, but I know that I definitely am going to have the blood work done, but I can't do the blood work yet because this Friday, I have a rheumatologist appointment to figure out what is going on with my autoimmune flare-ups. To see if I actually have Raynaud's syndrome or if I have like lupus or MTCD, which are underlining ones before. Because when I had my blood work done before, I had negative ANA and positive whatever the lower number is, RPN or whatever it is. And now I had positive both. So now they're like, and then I physically have Raynaud's. Like, I physically, when I have something really cold like this, and I hold on to it, or when it's 15 degrees outside like it is right now, which is very deceiving because it looks nice, I'll all of a sudden I won't be able to feel my fingers. And it really is really annoying. And I've never had that before. So I don't know where this has come from or have come from. But then again, I have had a lot of stress recently. So I don't know if there's a cure for Raynaud's or anything like that, or if it's just a lifelong thing or whatnot. But I knew it started. It started when I was at Tops, and I ended up having my fingers started going kind of numb, and I thought maybe it was just because I was in produce and I was dealing with, like, you couldn't have any gloves because they didn't want to cross contamination. But dude, you're in there already touching the broccoli with your own hands, and then you're going to the Brussels sprouts and you're going to the cucumbers, and you're already like, what? So, and that's the other thing with me, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So I noticed it then, but then everybody's like, oh no, don't worry about it. Kitty died. Just, keep going. And I knew my body at that time, and I knew my body was not doing good, and I knew my body was pushed too much. So I'm like, I gotta look for another job. So my friend hooked me up with a CVS job, which is cool. And then all of a sudden this stuff is starting. So it's like every 6 months to a year, there's stuff that changes. And I'm like, really? Can't I just get something that's okay? Which is why I work the side business, the Young Living, because I want that to be my full-time job. That's what I'm going for. But it's also in progress, because you can't jump from the starting line to the finish line. You have to walk the trail or do whatever the course is. And I tend to do that. I'll tend to be like, oh, I want to just bypass everything and just get to the end. You can't do that in life, sadly. I learned that hard way. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a lot of that stuff and trying to focus on what I'm doing. And I was in the process of going and applying to ACE anyways, and other places. And so yeah, and then they did this to my hours. So I was like, So, and they're like, okay, well, next week, don't worry, this is just going to be a 2-week thing, and then we're going to get more than 300 hours. Which is ridiculous, because the whole thing also was that there's only supposed to be 2 people on at a time, and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work, because the schedule just came back, and it wasn't just 2 people at a time. But in hindsight, on the other side of it, the silver lining is I can work more. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here, packing my stuff, getting my stuff ready. I can move into the apartment as of the 1st of April. So that's the other thing. I got approved for the apartment on Hickory Hills. So I'm still waiting on the email about which one it is, because I saw the 2-bedroom one and I was denied for that, for the income coming in. And now I have this one, which is fine. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going to definitely need some support. I'm going to put up, I didn't do it now, but when I do this, I'll put up my PayPal link if you want to help donate for supporting my move. And the other shit, because for 2 weeks I'm gonna be out of freaking money because of my job being a dick, and that's like the first of the month is when you gotta pay your rent and all this stuff. So and all the stuff on the side that I have set on the side is to pay for the utilities of this house, because Dan's still not executor yet, and we can't do anything, and it's all have to come out of my account. And I did transfer some money to the account, but that money's dwindled over the time, so now it's kind of borderline going into what I already had in there, which kind of sucks. And so then once that's out, then you're like, nobody can pay anything, and then all the utilities are going to get shut off. So I want to kind of go and move in as fast as I can, so I can just pay for that over there, and then the Spectrum versus all the stuff that's going on here, and then like try to consolidate, considering that work is being a dick. Which, you would think that, I think a lot of it though is because I'm too good at my job too. And they're getting rid of cashiers. They want people to go to self-checkout. And we actually had a woman that was like, I don't want to go to self-checkout. And we're like, it's okay, we can show you, it's okay. Because most people are like, I just don't know it, or I'll have an item that has to be flagged anyways, like alcohol or something that has to be ID'd. And they don't want to deal with the hassle and waiting and da-da-da, so they'd rather just go to the cashier. And actually, some people just like the interaction. Because when I cash, I talk to you like I'm talking to you now. And I get to know the person and stuff like that. And even Dave, my manager, said, hey, I love how you're interacting with people. I've been praised for that. I've been praised for how I do customer service. Which a lot of people crave now, because a lot of that is not genuine anymore. It's you're a number in a line and you're pushed through like a machine, and on all these machines just do this stuff, and there's no personal, feelings or anything, which is wrong. And everybody that I come in contact with is, well, they're mainly older generations, like my parents, my school kids' parents and things like that. They're all like, oh my God, you're so old school. I love it. You know, you don't see that a lot of times. And I'm like, yeah, because my grandparents raised me. My grandparents raised me right. Like, they raised me with ideals and morals and things, you know, where you treat people correctly. You treat people like, and we went to church and we learned about the, not that you have to go to church, but we learned the golden rule, you know. You treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. I mean, be like Jesus. That's how I do it. So there's a lot of that in there too, that really sucks. But this lady, like, and I talked to my manager, Paul. Oh, he was over Dave at the time, and they were like flipping. And I asked him one day, I said, you know, I have a question. I have this lady, she said she didn't want to do it. And she literally told us, I don't want to do it because it's not that I don't want to learn it and technology, it's because I don't want to take jobs away from people. And half of the East Aurora population is basically like, yeah, we agree. We don't want to do that. And I asked him about it. I said, well, how do I deal with that? You know, and he said, basically, you tell them the job's already taken. There is no other. There's not going to be. And I'm like, really? You want us to tell the customers that that's not going to help your business? People are going to leave. You know, if people are like, oh, if that's the case, then I'm not shopping there anymore because screw that. You know, and then all of a sudden I'm not working. And I'm one of the best cashiers. But it's all coincidence. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Basically what it is it's the universe and spirit and source telling me, move on. You're better valued somewhere else, and you're needed somewhere else to help somebody else. So I'm like, okay, fine. And this is why I didn't move before, because I didn't listen to my God winks, and I'm like, no, I don't want to, you know, rock the boat, and I have a solid job right now. I don't want to. And 4 weeks ago, I didn't have any clue that this was going to happen. Nobody did. I mean, granted, there are shorter hours all across all of the stores in, you know, the corporation, and they are kind of doing stuff, but I don't know what's going on, and I know there's something else going on, but we're not privy to whatever's going on. You know, granted, this is usually what happens in retail, where after the holiday season, they have to cut down on hours again to make it even in the back end with the business aspects, and I'm very aware of that. Not that I've actually run my own business on taxes wise or anything like that with the book end back end with the books, but I do know I'm book smart kind of about that kind of stuff. I know what's and with the fact that a lot of the stores are now implementing more safety things because there's a lot of theft all over the place. There was one where I talked to a lady over in the Lancaster one, and she said they have little locks on their jerky, and I'm like, you have locks on your jerky? And she goes, yeah, because people come in and just steal it. She said there was people that were in that store that would just take the baskets. They don't do baskets anymore because people would take the baskets, store them up, and then just run out the door with the basket full of items. I mean, like, people, you know, and this is the culture that I'm living in, and it frustrates me because I'm like, I was raised with honesty. Like, you don't steal, you know, it's not right. And I get it, because I used to do it when I was a kid, and I got freaking called out on it, and I was humiliated big time, and that's what made me stop. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with some of these kids, but you can't do that, because, like, it's like, you can't discipline your kids now. And that whole fear of crap. And I have a whole other thing on that, but I'm not going to. But my point is, I'm looking for another job. All this stuff is happening. There's a reason for it happening. Now I'm going to get a new a new apartment. I'm getting a new job. I'm changing the stuff around here. I'm going to be dealing with my health. I definitely have to go 100% gluten-free for at least a week, which sucks because, like I said, backtracking, because I tend to do this. Sorry if you know me, I'm a little squirrel. All my squirrely friends like Mary and Jamie and everybody else and Heather and James from my 30 thing group, which we have so much fun, and I'm so blessed to have that group. But basically, like, what happens is life gives you crap, and then you have to pivot, and I'm pivoting now, because this is 30 years of my life that I have to I've seen it sort through. AmVets is coming on the 9th to take most of the stuff to their place on the front room, and I'm like, part of me is like devastated that stuff's leaving and stuff, but half of me, the other half is like, no, it's good, so it's going to go to somebody else. Some of the stuff was way under, you know, it was bad, it needed to be thrown out. Living in a house that's deteriorating, it needs a ton of work, it kind of gets to you, because all you can see is this falling down or that falling down or whatever, and I can't fix anything up because I don't have the money. So it's part of me is like, no, yeah, okay, this needs to get done. Being able to go and finally get my health organized, because now I have the time to be able to go to the doctor's appointments and not have it interfere with my work. So this Friday, I'm going to the rheumatologist, and they're going to probably want to order blood work. That's why I'm holding off on the blood work, to figure out all my my fingers are going right now. I can feel it. These fingers are there. They're going. That's annoying as crap. That's so annoying. Anyway, it happened. It was funny because I didn't know what was going on at the time, and it happened when we were burying my younger brother and my grandparents and my uncle. And I'm like, I can't feel my fingers, and we all thought it was like frostbite, but it wasn't. Turns out that it's the Reinhardt's, which is weird because I'm like, how does somebody get Reinhardt's and all this stuff? And I'm like, what? But it's a nerve damage thing, which is part of the autoimmune thing, which is all the autoimmune crap. And I'm like, I know I can get, and this is part of why, like, if it's the MCTD, which is, they say that's part of lupus, and I don't know much about lupus, but the MCTD I looked up because that's what they were saying I might have last time, about 5 years ago, 3 to 5 years ago, when I first started this journey, and then I had to stop it abruptly, was basically when your muscles start deteriorating, because your body's going after your muscles and saying that they're bad or breaking down the muscles and stuff like that. So that's why I started doing a lot of my supplements for my company and did the ones that help with the muscle recovery. So I'm actually low on that, and I gotta take some more of that. I took some yesterday, and I'm gonna finish that up today. But I need that because I need the strength to be able to move, and so this all kind of goes together. So basically, and I know this is super long-winded, and I'm sorry, guys, but there's a lot going on. It's like 2 to 3 years worth of information, all wrapped up into a little bit here, about an hour video or so. But basically, this is all what's going on. I'm going to put up my PayPal account for donations if anybody wants to help donate, because I'm going to be struggling for like 2 weeks because I don't know what's going to happen. Because I just got approved for the apartment, and now work did this shit to me. So I know Kitty. And we can't do anything with the house, or I can't get my estate stuff until we can't even close the estate until July. So I don't get that until later. And I thought at the point that this job would be solid all the way through, so I'd be at least, even if it's just part-time, to get something, because I still need to pay my bills and stuff, and this is just kind of like, what the heck's going on? I also have to pivot and think what else I can sell. I don't like going on Facebook Marketplace. Never did it, but I'm growing, and maybe it's not as scary as I think it is, because I have a lot of trust issues with people and things, which is weird. You wouldn't think I would. But from what has been said to me from different people and things I've experienced and situations in retail, it kind of got to me. And now the sun's out and my glasses are tinting. It's kind of funny. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. And it's a lot to take in and a lot to process. And I'm working with my therapist, because yes, I do have a therapist, and it's very good to have a therapist to talk to. She actually even said, for me to talk on videos, or like do videos, because I don't really have anybody to talk to. I mean, even though Grandpa's here, I could kind of talk to him. He kind of knew. Like, luckily, he knew who I was and stuff, and he knew who Dan was, and he knew who Eric was. But the fact that Mom died, it got to him, and of course we had to tell him, and that kind of set him back. And then when Eric died, it set him back even further, because at one point I was here and he woke up, and he was all crying, and he came in, he was kind of disoriented, and I'm like, what's going on? Because at that time, I would be super hyper. See, the other thing with me is I'm hyper vigilant. So because of like Mom falling all the time when I was here, so I'd know, any kind of boom or any kind of loud noise, I'd just, so I never slept very good. I never slept all the way through with my sleeping cycles. So that's another reason why with the lethargicness, and a lot of other things in the house. But basically, he came into the dining room in the back. Actually, I don't know if you can see in that room in there. He sat down at the table. And he said, whatever happened to Eric? He goes, why did Eric die? Where's Eric? Why? He was just all confused. And I was like, whoa. And it was like about a month after Eric passed. So we figured, usually after like 2 days, 24 to 48 hours of something happening, us telling him, he won't remember the next day. So then he just forgets, and he's just totally in his own world. But he was always quiet anyway, so I don't know what was going on in his mind. And luckily, he didn't get to the point where he was just like afraid of the TV or people coming in or paranoid like that. Thank God. So I had it lucky on that one. But basically, I told him, I said, well, Eric he got sick and he wasn't taking care of himself, and he wasn't doing what he needed to do to stay healthy, and he was in a situation where I think he felt like he couldn't get out of it, and he was just kind of like ping pong between a lot of things. And Gramp goes, well, it's not fair, and I'm going, I know it's not fair. I said, but at least he's in a better place now, and he's better, he's not sick, because then I explained to him how he was looking in the hospital, and Grandpa goes, no, we don't want him like that, we didn't want him like that, and I go, yeah. So, that was interesting, that was really tough, and I think that kind of, after he did that, it even though he wasn't talking about it, I think it was internal, and he knew it. And he also, after Mom died, Mom was his everything. I mean, he just basically didn't know how to do anything on his own, and I tried, after a while, he was able to kind of get his own food and stuff like that, but it took a while for me to build that confidence in him and to be like, hey, yo, you can do this, you don't have to be waited on all the time, which is cool. And he started getting more independent, and we were like, yay, this is good, like, and I think really the pacemaker really kind of made it so he lived longer, because technically he should have died before Mom, and then the whole thing that way, but then, I mean, it happened for a reason the way it happened. And I know Eric's passing was a reason, too, because when I had that one dream of Brian and Eric coming into the house and asking for me, and being like, hey, by the way, when you're ready, come on out. Because I was doing stuff on the hutch, and I was getting stuff ready, and I said to Brian, he goes, hey, you ready to go? And I said, no, wait, just give me a couple more minutes. I got to get this stuff organized so that when Mom comes back, it's going to be okay. She's not going to get agitated. And he said, okay, no problem. And Eric was sitting on at the table at the time. Well, this is all in a dream, mind you. And it felt like I'm talking to you right now, though. And he's like, okay, well, we'll be in the truck, because he had his red truck at the time, the one that he has years ago. He goes, we'll be in the truck waiting when you're ready. Come on out. And I'm like, okay. And so he and Brian ended up leaving the table and went out into the truck. And I was left there. So years later now, with Eric passing first, it's really weird how that dream made a lot of sense, where Brian went first and then Eric followed, and then it's me. And I was like, no, I gotta wait. I gotta stay here. I gotta wait for Mom to return. Now, I don't understand the whole Mom return, because Mom's gone too. So I'm not 100% sure, unless that's, and mind you, it's creepy and I'm getting really goosebumps talking about it, but I have to say this. It might mean setting Mom's estate up and finalizing all that, and then I'll be at peace to be able to go. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means, like, in a couple years, or if I get sick again and something happens recently, like in the next year or so. Not saying that it will. Or that possibly it's going to be 50 years down the line, or if my older brother goes before me, this kind of thing, because I never dreamt of my older brother. It was just me and Eric and Brian, and Mom and Grandpa were not there. It was almost as if Mom and Grandpa were gone doing their own thing too, but I don't know, it was weird. It was, I have dreams like this, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was Brian coming to say hi. I didn't think about it with Eric. I figured, okay, at the time Eric was still living here, and I'm like, oh, I live with Eric, no problem, it's all fine. He's just in the dream, because I see him all the time. Now with Eric's passing last year, it's creepy how the dream is like all of a sudden Eric's gone. I even told my, I don't even know how he pronounced this. Brian, the one who was in the dream, his wife, I told her about it when she was here, because she got remarried to another guy, Mike, and she had just come back last year with Brian's ashes after 10 years of his death, because Brian died in 2006, to finally put Brian at peace as well, with Mom and Gramp and Eric in Oakwood Cemetery. And that was interesting too, because as far as I knew, I thought she had gotten rid of the ashes. She had did whatever with them or whatever, and now he's over there with Mom and Gramp. And actually what's funny is they said that Wes, the guy from our Howell funeral home that we work with, he said that what's the freaking funeral people? The big funeral. The heck is it called? Oh, I just had it. Forest Lawn. Forest Lawn is going to be taking over the cemeteries here in East Aurora. So when Forest Lawn does it, it basically means you have 2 more plots available on your plot, like 2 more spaces. So there's 4 in each plot, or 2 in each plot right now. Mom and Grandpa and Eric and Brian. And then when Forest Lawn does it, whenever they do it, there's going to be room for 2 more. So you'll be able to have 3 plots in one thing for, like, I'm assuming probably, I don't know if it's just cremation or if it's, you know, the whole other thing. Or casket, I don't know. But basically, I was joking with Dan, and I go, oh, by the way, if we have 2 open spots, there's one for me and one for you. And I'll be like, I'll be placed with Brian and Eric. And I'm like, oh, and then it brought back the memory and the dream. And I'm like, that's creepy. I'm like, kind of morbid and creepy, but you gotta kind of laugh at something, right? So I'm like, well, if ever I die, put me on the side of Brian and Eric, because those are my peeps. And then Mom and Grandpa would be with Dan. But Dan's got his own family, so that's a whole nother thing. So, whatever. But yeah, it's really interesting, and there's a lot of things going on. And the weather is all messed up, because now it's 15 degrees, and it's cold outside, and there's snow outside, when it should be spring. There were buds on the cherry tree, or the, and they're not there now, you can see that they're pretty much gone, on the, lilac bush over here. See, that's the other thing, too, everything's so overgrown, and it's nice with the animals, but it's just, it looks like the cherry tree, it's completely rot now, even though the things are on it. The branches are breaking off. It's just seeing the decay around the whole house and seeing the fact that there's wood rotting out, the deck's going, you know, all these things that I would love to fix up myself, that Dan would love to fix up. You know, the house would be beautiful once it's fixed and stuff, but we don't have the funds or the means to be doing that now. So we're going to have to sell it as is, or do the minimal amount that's available to fix up for selling, you know. And it's sad, because years ago I saw stuff. I was like, hey, Mom, this is deteriorating. We need to get this fixed. And she was only concerned about the funeral costs. And I'm like, you know, and then I just couldn't handle it anymore, because she started getting nasty toward the end, and she started getting weird, and, you know, so I left, because I was like, okay, I can't handle this anymore, no offense. And I was trying to make it on my own, and I was under the assumption that I could just all of a sudden stop, like, not have a full-time job and just be able to work my side business. Well, I had success in my side business when I was more, you know, happy, you know, because it showed. And then all of a sudden when stuff started happening, I wasn't as cheery. I didn't, you know, go out as much, didn't meet up with friends, didn't, you know, talk about it as much, even though I was still doing it personally. I was just I became more of a product user instead of a liaison for the products. So yeah, it's, but now I'm like back into it, because a lot of the stuff's coming on, and I'm telling my stories of how I've been using them. And Digize, oh my god, guys, Digize, get yourself some Digize if you have gut issues. That stuff has saved my butt numerous times in the last couple months. And still trying to figure out going to doctors as well, like not just doing holistic by itself necessarily, and just if you really need the other assistance, then it's there for you to do it. And right now, if I get the lump sum, my insurance is going to go to shit. So I'm doing all this now on the other insurance, or necessarily, so I don't know. And then my friends are like, well, you have really low income right now, so you should probably apply for Section 8 and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to apply for Section 8. I don't want to be considered a Section 8 person, you know. I'm like, eh. And she's like, no, don't do that. And, you know, they don't consider, like, that kind of income and things like that. And I'm like, always like, I don't, because I was always told, you know, you make it, you do it, you do the work, you get down and you do it. But sometimes when the world is just freaking throwing shit at you, you just need the extra help. So my therapist is just like, okay, we gotta do something here, because you're like slowly like bink bink bink. But she's all like, I can't believe how you end up being so resilient. And I said, well, you know, and I started thinking about that, because I'm like, I kind of went through life wanting the approval of my family and my friends to help me be more successful and help me boost my confidence. But then I'm like, you know what, now with none of my family really, my immediate family that I lived with here, and mom was supportive, but she was supportive in a weird way. And then, like, my brothers and things, they were doing their own thing in their life, so they weren't, like, here. And then I had my friends, which is cool. But I also remember, back in the day when I was in a foster family, I didn't have them around to boost my confidence, and I had confidence. But at the same time, I was talking to spirit. I had shut my gift off. And it's coming back online now, but I'm too scared to show it, to be classified as weird, woo-woo. The word psychic is not exactly, cool out there or whatever, but I'm definitely, I have gifts, and it's weird to say that. But, I mean, the fact that you are visited by your dead uncle after he dies on your bed, that freaks you out to the point where you have to move your bed to the wall because you're like, oh, this is not normal, this is not cool, and you're like, hell no. And at that point, I was like, okay, if you want to talk to me, come to me in my dreams, and he did. He respected that, so that was cool. But, like, that doesn't happen to normal people. Like, what? And so I know I have gifts. I'm like, when I was a kid, I was downstairs in my foster family in North Tonawanda playing with one of those Fisher-Price sets, and I remember, and it's weird because I can see myself in third dimension, like if I was, like, behind there seeing myself play on the set. And I remember, well, now you look up because there were stairs, and then, hi, Kathy. And then basically there was a doorway, and she'd open it up to the cellar. The cellar was furnished and it was done because actually my foster father had a weightlifting set down there, and we'd weightlift a little bit as a kid. So I was like, yeah. But I was playing with the thing, and then she'd be like, she opened the door because she heard me talking. She goes, "Who are you talking to?" And at the time I don't remember what I said, but I basically said nobody. And there was a cat. They had in the corner they had like this shelving. And there was a little space for, like, something to sit up on top. And the cat, the calico cat, I think, would sit up there. We had a couple. But the cat would always hiss at me. Always. And I always wondered why. I'm like, oh, the cat just might not like me. Maybe it doesn't like my smell or something. But then I realized years later, after learning about the spiritualism and messages from spirit and things like that, that it was actually reacting to a spirit in the house. Now, normally when cats hiss like that, that's usually a negative stuff, but it wasn't negative at this point because cats are very good at deferring negative energy. So it's really cool, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But my point is, I was down there, and it was either my invisible friend, and they're like, invisible friend, but to me it wasn't invisible friend, because whoever it was, I remember them coming over to the thing, sitting down, and I could see right through them, which didn't freak me out as a kid, which is, you're a kid, well, so maybe it's like, okay, whatever, because kids see unicorns and leprechauns and things like that, so it doesn't really matter because they don't have the jaded veil that we do as adults, and they weren't told that that's not, legit in the real world, and I'll get to that in a minute. And so I said, yeah, I'm playing with this thing, and he goes, well, how do you start playing with it? So I remember distinctly taking the one Fisher-Price person and putting it in the car and using it to show him how it goes down the slide. And that's when my foster mom opened the door and said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "Oh, no one." Or just my friend, or I don't even remember what I said. And mind you, I was 6 at this time, 6.5, 7. So it was in that area, which is the area where it's right before you shut down your gifts to the other side, or whatever, spirit, God, whatever you want to say, your sight, and you become more indoctrined into normal society. And you're trained that's not legit, and you're not supposed to do that, and it's whatever. So that happened, and then a couple days later, I saw what would be considered a leprechaun outside my window when I was washing dishes, because we had chores, and whatever. And my family at the time was extremely Catholic. Actually, I think they went to the Basilica for some mass at some time, which I'll have to go in there one time and see if it triggers any memories, because a lot of this stuff I blocked because of the torment and the mental issue, and my therapist says you can't go into it until you're in a safe space, so we'll see about that. And I'm like, I've been going into a lot of memories just randomly anyway, because it just happens, and then they're coming to the surface now, so I have to watch myself half the time, because I'll be somewhere, like I'll be at work, and then it'll trigger, and I'll be like, somebody will bring something up, and it'll just trigger a flashback, and I'm like, and, you're like, oh my God, and I talked to my therapist about that, and she's like, okay, well, just remember to breathe, and take your, like, whatever you feel is safe. And I'm like, I don't have my cat. My cat's at home. So I'm like, okay, something soft, because I'm very textile. So if I freak out, I need to have something like soft. Not necessarily this, but like really like suede or something like that with me. So during the winter, it was actually nice because I had a lot of fluffy things on me. So anyways, what I'm saying, and I know this is going on way, way too long as a live, and it's the longest live I've ever done, which is weird, but, I wanted you all to know what was going on. So basically, there's a lot of that going on, and I know I have gifts, but I'm too afraid to put myself out there, because I'm like, okay, whatever. Because after I saw the quote-unquote leprechaun, they were really super Catholic, and they're like, no, that's demonic, or whatever, so don't ever say that again, so I shut it off. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be, because at the time, I was taken away from my actual parents. So as a kid, at 6, you're like, okay, I don't want to be taken away, I don't want to be taken away from my security, so I'm going to play whatever, I'm going to stay in line, basically. And I used to sleep in cupboards, because I felt so scared, and the cupboards, it kind of like a cat, okay? Maybe that's why I relate to cats, I don't know. So there was this cupboard, and I'd just stay there, like I'd sleep in it, and I'm like, no, I have to be in there, but I couldn't get up to it, because it was up high, and it was a linen closet type of a cupboard. And I'd go, and I'd try to climb into it, and then my stepfather, basically, you want to get in that? And I'm like, yeah, and I would fuss if I didn't get into it. So then he put me up there, and mind you, I'm 6, and I kind of went in there, and I had my Littlefoot with me, and yes, I have an original Littlefoot stuffed animal. Awesome. I ended up, it's got a hole in the neck because I brushed it too much to try to make it soft after I was using it so much. It was funny. But anyway, that's where I felt safe. Because when they would fight, I'd have a little sleeping bag outside their door. Like whenever it was a thunderstorm or something, because it would trigger me from my past when I was a little kid, like upwards to 5 years old, 5.5 to 6, when my parents would be like violent, and then a thunderstorm, and then I had trauma from that. So then I wasn't allowed in the room, and I just had to, stress that. Years later, I know it was because they were having adult time. So that's a whole nother thing. But then they would also fight, because they would talk about me, because they also had to go through, it was only like not even a year of trying to battle with the court system to try to keep me, because they were going to try to adopt me, and my grandparents were countering it to get me here. So there's a lot of that in there too, and then I went to counseling, and I was jaded from counseling, and there's all that stuff. But this is all stuff people don't normally know about me, and this is what's gotten me through, because I can relate to different situations. So this is my point. My point is, by having all this change, 30 years of my life, basically, well, I shouldn't say 30 years, 20-some years of my life being moved around and disheveled, I'm still resilient and all that stuff, and that's not really what's getting me. It's the fact that this job that I have basically cut me out of 2 weeks of work because of hours being cut. Now, granted, I can't necessarily apply for unemployment because I haven't been there long enough, because I started in November, so I can't get unemployment. I can put in a thing for partial unemployment, but then that takes however long or whatever, and I don't know how they're going to work that. I might do that tomorrow just because. But if I'm going to go to ACE now and all this stuff, it's just a lot of things that all of a sudden you're like, and I have to remember to be like, hey, in the moment. So what I'm doing in the moment is I'm making sure I'm going to my doctors for health stuff, figuring out what else we can do for my health to make sure I'm good, so I can lift boxes and move. So that's tomorrow. I'm going to physical therapy for my lower back in Orchard Park, because I think I messed it up. Hey, Emily, I messed up my back when Mom fell a couple years ago when she was still alive back in 2019, 2020. Well, actually it was 2020 because it was January, actually. Might have been early February, because she died February 22nd, 2020. And she fell, and then because Grandpa was starting to get all Alzheimer's, he was trying to help her, and he didn't know what to do. And he's not he's strong, but he's not that strong. Hey, Mary. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, you're in autopilot. So when Mom fell, I'm like, I gotta get her off of the floor, because she's delirious right now, because she was at the point where we had hospice over here, and she was kind of a little delirious. She was trying to go to the bathroom. She wasn't using the porta potty, because in her head, she had to try to get to the bathroom. She had fallen, and basically she had messed herself. So she's trying to get up. She's crawling on the floor like a baby. And I'm like, okay, I have to get her up on the bed to make her think that she's sitting. So I scooped her up, and she's freaking dead weight. Dead weight, guys. And if you've ever actually picked up somebody that's physically dead weight, that's fainted completely, and that's kind of an older person, that's kind of hard. So what I did, I scooped her up and put her on the bed. Now, the bed was like, I'd say to my waist, tall, because we had a big bed in back here and it was put up, because she couldn't even really, when she was standing, she was 4 foot, well, almost 5 foot, just shy of 5 maybe, or 5'1". It went up, she had to kind of scoop up a little bit to sit her bum onto the bed. So I had to, it was really tall. So when I did that, I think I screwed up my back and got it out of whack. Now, when I just had the x-ray done, they said I have slight scoliosis. And I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't that stuff that they test you for in school when they say bend over and they measure your back? And someone said yes when I asked about that. So I don't know what that means. That's a new avenue for me. No idea. So I'm going to physical therapy tomorrow to figure out what's going on. I'd rather have it here in town, but I'm going to go in Orchard Park apparently because they screwed up. They're like, oh, well, Easter Road doesn't have an opening and Orchard Park has a closer opening, so I'll go to Orchard Park. I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm going to get that done tomorrow. I don't know if you can correct scoliosis. I have no idea. I don't know anything about this. This is all new territory for me. And so I'm going to figure that out tomorrow. I know my nerves are freaking messed up because my hips snap, like above my hips where the spine is, it snaps. So when I get out of bed, it snaps. And when it snaps, it hurts. But I've dealt with it for so long that I don't really even realize I'm in pain until it really starts to affect how I'm going about my business and being like, okay, it's starting to get into my brain and I'm starting to get delusional. Not delusional, but like I can't focus on stuff. I love how I said delusional. Funny. I'm always delusional, guys. Woo. But anyways, so there's this stuff, and then beyond that, I have to go to the rheumatologist on Friday to figure out that stuff for my nerve endings with that. And then I went to the gastrologist last Friday to figure out that stuff, and she wants to endoscopy and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening with me, both physical, health-wise. That's why I'm also doing my Ninja Red every single day to help support my body, to keep it at least as good as you can get it with all this other crap happening. And it helps the joints so much. I'm using my CBD, not all the time because for me, it kind of does calm me down to the point where it does kind of make me a little bit sleepy. But the Gabby helps with that as well. So I'm glad that I can actually do that. And I talked to my doctor. Always talk to your doctor when you're talking about supplements and, whatever. My doctor's very good at being open about holistic avenues as well. And she doesn't believe in just prescribing everything and having you just be on everything. Because she saw my mom. And I got in with her after, mom was there. And mom was on so much stuff. And it was all like, okay, you're on this, but now you have this. And you're on this because of this and da-da-da-da-da. And it's just a whole mess. Because, towards the end, you don't want to take 5 million pills. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, all that's happening. The move's going to be happening. I'm still waiting on the response for that. Thank God for my 30 and 30 thing, which is a group that is a year old now. It was a couple of us girls getting together to talk about God and things like that. And me, I consider it like source. But about God and how God is working in our lives and things like that, and just the connection and, see where we are. And it's actually kind of morphed a little bit, but it's more of our little group. And I'm very, very, very blessed to have those girls with me because I never really had a solid community. I mean, I had my 2 good friends in high school, Melissa and Rachel, and then they have their own lives now. And we kind of like talk, but we see each other on Facebook, but Facebook's algorithms make it so that you can only see certain things. And I'm out of, and because I don't talk to you doesn't mean I'm not looking for you. It's just Facebook is doing its stupid shit. So if you're like, oh, well, she never, talked to me or whatever, it's not because I didn't want to. It's because, as everybody, life got busy and stuff. So I'm doing this live because apparently when you go live, especially for a longer period of time, it screws up the algorithms. And when people comment and then you're like, okay, cool, it makes you more visible. So I'm just kind of also, it kind of goes hand in hand with the message I'm trying to get out. So, and you can tell I've had an energy drink. Sorry, guys. So anyways, I'm going to get off because it's almost 11 o'clock and I started this at like 9 or something. And I know I'm really sorry. But those of you who have hopped on in between, that's why I kind of wanted to do it longer and kind of wait for people to come in at different spots. And I was going to do it yesterday, but I'm like, I got other stuff to do. And I'm going to upload my 2 videos on my unboxings for my beauty school stuff, because actually some of the beauty school items that I got, which was golden turmeric and multigreens, are stuff that I need, especially for the different things that I've explained. Hey, Kathy. Let me read what you got here. I think that it has to be taken care of when you are young. That's why they probably did it when we were young. See, that's the thing, Kathy. I need a raindrop, and I don't. Do you know anybody that's actually got a raindrop certificate here around East Aurora? Because I'd love to get a raindrop massage. That's what I've been trying to do for a while. And as far as I know, nobody does it. I know Euros up here does do Young Living oils, but I don't think they're, doing the raindrop. Now, granted, the cool thing about that is I actually applied for the raindrop virtual class that's going to be, I think, next month. So I'm excited about that. So I was like, I'm going to have to learn. I mean, you can't really do it on yourself, on your back, you have to kind of have somebody else do it for you. But you can kind of do a version of it. I have the kit. I got the kit a long time ago because I just wanted Valor. But I didn't know that. That's cool, that raindrop is that. I know that's Gary's protocol. Oh, you do it, Kathy. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, yeah, sure. I would love to do that. Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely set something up, because I definitely need one done. And I think that'll heal, especially with the emotional aspect of the oils and things like that. It'll definitely release a bunch of stuff for me, because all the chiropractors around here don't do that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to train another friend of mine in that kind of stuff because I know it works. So, all right, cool. I'm gonna get off, and I'll try to connect with you, Kathy, at some point when I figure out a little bit more after I go to PT, and then I go to the rheumatologist to figure out what's going on with that. Yeah, and I'll definitely figure out what else is going on, and I'll keep you guys posted. Hopefully we'll get warmer weather. I guess apparently we're not really done with the snow here in New York, so Western New York, I should say, not New York City. But yeah, I'm totally done with that, aren't you guys? Because depends on if you're a winter person or a summer person. I'm so totally a spring kind of person because with my deviated septum, and that's also what's causing my lethargicness. And they said in order for that to get fixed, I have to get surgery done, and I haven't done it because I'm like, I don't want to get surgery. But when it was about 60 degrees here a couple weeks ago, or last week, I was fine. I was good. Okay, Depew. Gotcha. Okay. I could probably figure out how to get up there. I think you're on transit, right? You're off of transit. Well, message me with the stuff so that we can connect. I'll try to figure out something and do that. Like I said, right now I'm out of a paycheck for the first 2 weeks of April, which kind of sucks because the next paycheck I get, whatever I do, I have to end up using that for my Discover because unfortunately I'm not done with paying my Discover off until the end of this year, January, and then I'll be done. Then I'll have $484 left over to do whatever I want with. And this is why I don't have a quote-unquote big savings. And everybody's like, well, why don't you have savings saved up? And I'm like, because it's all going to my Discover card because I screwed that up years ago. And right now, I'm close to, I have to pay off the other one, but I was going to use that with my next paycheck, but here we go. So, yeah, I'll figure that out, do whatever's going on with that, and then, that's the other thing, I gotta be selfish, and that's another thing that I've learned from Johanna Hunter with her book, Get Selfish, because if I want to be healthy myself, I have to do stuff that I know is right for me, regardless of what it looks like for other people, and my family, and the judgments that other people have, and things like that, because my family doesn't understand how sensitive I am to they know I'm sensitive to stuff, but they're just like, okay, power through it a lot of times and be like, okay, just be an adult and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's one thing. And then I sit here and I go, I kind of understand how Eric was now. Now, granted, Eric was not one to do a lot of work. Even when we were kids, he never really liked to do a lot of work. We'd go and pick up sticks in the yard for the willow tree right here because it's like a huge willow tree. It's a big willow tree. It's like 70 years old. It was planted when, and it goes really high, it was planted when my grandmother's father was here. So my aunts and uncles basically had it as a little sapling when it was first here, when they moved in here years ago. I don't know, I think it was 40s, 50s, I don't even remember. Actually, I think it was the 40s because I have photos of it and they're black and white, and I think it was 43 or 45, something like that. And my cat is in the other room meowing. She's probably talking to Shadow. So yeah, we had it. I did it the other day. Like, we'll have the windstorm and then all the branches will fall down or whatever. So Eric, Dan, and I, when we were younger, went out to go pick up the sticks with Mom back in the 90s. And we're like, okay, we're going to pick it up. Well, he did not want to do it. He, after like one little thing of like having 5 sticks, then he's like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. He did this big dramatic thing where he's in the yard, on the grass, on his back, going, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. He was so dramatic. And half the time, I think, if you believe in past lives, I think he was probably a girl in his past life. Because when he would walk, years later, when he'd walk on the street, when we were walking uptown or whatever, I'd walk right through the mud on the sidewalk, and he'd be like walking around it. I don't want mud on my shoes. And I'm like, I'm more of a guy than you are, and you're more of a girl than you. I'm like, what? Which is kind of cool. But anyways, it's kind of funny. And then you have all the different changes with the gender identification now, so it's really cool how that kind of plays into. But anyways, so I understand how he had a lot of health problems too, and so we were like, well, why can't you work and why can't you do this? And I feel really bad about that because I wasn't understanding, and now I'm in the position where I can relate because my older brother's kind of doing that to me. And my family's all like, you need a full 40-hour job and you need to do this in order to make your living. And I get where they're coming from, and I love that they're concerned and everything, and it's awesome. But at the same time, my body currently right now will not handle that. That's why when I pushed myself during the holiday season and I was working 32 hours one day less than full time, and I was telling them apparently that wasn't enough. And I'm like, but I'm making my bills and I'm paying my bills. I'm not asking anybody else for any money, beyond what I'm getting, and I'm making sure that I'm good. But at the same time, there were other things, like I'm living in this house, I'm not paying my rent, I'm not paying the utilities, all that kind of stuff, which I get. But so there's a silver lining in a lot of stuff, and you have to be able to be sympathetic to know when to relate, to one side or the other, and just be like, okay. So anyways, not knocking my family or anything. I love my family. I'm just saying it's funny because now I can relate to how Eric was. And now he's gone, and it's freaking ironic. Like, and he passed, and all of a sudden I got cravings for pancakes because he always ate pancakes. And so now I'm like, well, here I am not really taking care of my health because I have to work all these hours, and I'm sensitive to so much stuff. And when you're trying to work those many hours, and you can't have wheat or dairy, and you want something to keep you going, and you're sensitive to caffeine and things like that, depending, you have to kind of find other avenues, and when your other avenues are more expensive than the regular stuff, you've just kind of been like, I have to eat the wheat until I can get to a point where I can start from scratch again and move the other way, and that's where I am. And my phone is at 35%, and I've been on here way too long. So anyways, you don't have to catch the whole replay if you don't want, guys, but basically, this is what's going on. Yeah, Kathy, hey, see you later, and yeah, lots of things. So I will keep you updated on what my tests show, what they come back with my stuff, how much I have to do the blood work. I don't know. I had like a bunch of vials done last time. I almost fainted. But I was in the fainty chair, so that was good. And I'll make an appointment for that because they're going to want to order some more stuff. So at least when we get this finally done, we can figure out whether I'm actually fully gluten intolerant or having celiac or Crohn's disease with the genetic markers that they're going to look for. So, all right, and Cleo says goodbye too. She's all like, goodbye, please help me find a home because I want to have a home with a good person because she's just so lovey. So, all right, it's 11. I'm going to get going, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for supporting me, for donating. If you choose to donate, for going on my website and purchasing for my small business, because that helps too. Any kind of purchase, 1 product, 2 product, whatever, really helps out. I'm going to upload my other videos so you guys know. My website, I have a couple bundles. If you're interested in something else, you can also add things to the bundle. You don't have to select everything in the bundle. There's different options. There's a subscribe to save, which is a monthly subscription. You can have 1 item on that, and you still get the 24% off. You can do 100 PV of items and get free shipping, and then you're 24% off as well. All these different things. There's different bundles. I'm going to be doing one for Mother's Day soon. But I will put the link in here and you can go look around. And if you have any other questions, you can also go to the regular website as well through my link in my actual bio here on Facebook. It said get your oils here, and then you can click on that. And if you're on Instagram or whatever, you can click that Instagram link as well. It's not the updated one, but it's still there. And if you're on YouTube, you can click the link on the YouTube, and I'll put it down below this when I upload this to YouTube. After I download it from Facebook and then upload it to YouTube. So anyways, unfortunately I have to download it after I hit finish, because they don't let you download it now after the thing. So whatever. Facebook's just weird. So yeah, I appreciate any kind of help. I appreciate it. And you know me, I don't like asking for help. I'm very independent with that usually, and usually I just ask my family for help if I needed it. And now I'm not gonna. My family's already tuckered out mostly and stuff like that, because my brother's moving and having his own stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. But I was not expecting to be out of a job for 2 weeks. I feel like I'm back on the freaking isolation of COVID thing again when I don't have it, because I already had it before, and that's why I was off for almost 2 weeks then. And now freaking that was back in the end of December or early January, and now here we are, and I'm like, really? So I'm like, it's the universe saying it's time to move on. And it's funny that I keep getting all these jobs that are like retail jobs and things like that. I need one that's like legit, like technology and stuff like that, but I've also learned that, like my older brother says, I'm more of a leader versus a regular person, like a partner or whatever, because I have my thing and I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and da-da-da, and then I don't like to have to put it in front of other people for like criticism or something, and I'm like, I don't like to be criticized that much, and that's a big thing I'm working on. But I know everybody's like wanting to do the good stuff. But anyways, I'm going to be off because I could go on and on and on, and you all know me. And I have to go and upload the other videos and put the video of my kitty up so she can find a nice home. Oh, the kitty. Oh, the kitty. Oh, the kitty. Oh, she's so cute. Look at how adorable she is. Oh, my God. I don't want to give you up. You're so cute. I want you to find a good home that people could take care of you and brush you. I'm doing it backwards. Sorry. And you can... she reminds me of one of those cats that you can put, like, hats on and things like that. It's kind of funny. All right, I'm gonna go, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for watching. If you can't, if you don't feel obligated to purchase from my website or donate at this time, I really appreciate either one of those, preferably, which is fine. But if you want, just please pray. If you're in any kind of religious affiliation, please just put a prayer out for me for everything to just work out and for the finances to be here. And so I'm not in the fear zone of how am I going to make things work? How am I going to do this? I need people. I need divine intervention, please. So, need all the prayers I can get, guys. I really appreciate it. And all the help. And you know me, I don't like to ask for help. And this is very struggling. I think about, yeah, I need a lot of help right now, and it's okay. And I'm busting that stigma bubble because I'm asking for it, and you know what? All that can happen if you ask for it is the worst that can happen is nobody does anything, So, put myself out there and be like, okay, be okay for like nothing to happen if that's happened. But I know you guys are gonna come out of the woodwork and support, and because you guys are good people. You're my people, our tribe. We're good. Prayer does a lot of good things, and we're praying for everything else that's going on in the Ukraine, all that. Everybody else who's struggling, because I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people moving right now, so there's a lot of change. This is the energy of change, and the energy of pivoting. And if you follow astrology and all that, there's a lot of that going on too, which is all what I do. But the kitties decided to lick my arm now, so I'm gonna say goodbye with this hand. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll put up the links in a couple minutes. All right, love you, love, light, and blessings. And I will talk to you later, and I'll update you guys no matter what. All right, bye.